Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to this webinar. We will wait for a couple of minutes before starting. Okay, so maybe we can start. Welcome to this webinar organized in the framework of the EU Green Week. My name is Nuria Casas Isampero, and I work at ACR Plus, the Association of Cities and Regions for Sustainable Resource Management. So today I will be moderating this webinar. For your information, the event is being recorded, so if you don't want to be recorded, remember to switch off your camera. Circular and green public procurement represents around 15% of the EU GDP and therefore has a big potential to drive demand for low carbon and circular goods, services, and works. At the same time, it can help protect ecosystems and reduce pollution. And this is the focus of the 2026 edition of the EU Green Week, which explores how nature-positive economy can strengthen European prosperity, resilience, and competitiveness. So today's event is organized by the Interreg Central Europe project CPRINS, which supports the transition to a circular economy by strengthening company circularity and enhancing the capacity of the public sector to design and implement circular tenders. During this event, we will hear about the project's more recent activities, including capacity building initiatives and peer-to-peer exchanges, ongoing work on upgraded circular criteria, and we will also hear from a good practice from Sweden in the construction sector and the next steps for the project. So this is the agenda for today. We will start with an introduction about the CPRINS project from Sara Piana from the Liguria region, who is the project coordinator of the CPRINS project. This will be followed by a presentation from Serena Mancini from Liguria on the common circular criteria. Then Emoke Takacs from ERI Hungary will present driving circularity via joint effort of the public and private sectors, key takeaway from the CPRINS research. And this will be followed by Omar Salha from Stria, Hungary, that will present financing the loop, practical incentives for green public procurement. And last but not least, Elin Dalarit from the city of Lund will also present an inspirational case of circular green public procurement, paving the way for low carbon and circular construction. In the end, there will be time for discussion and closure. So if you have questions during the presentation, please write them in the chat. We will address them after all the presentations. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Sara Piana, as we start with the first presentation.
Hello, good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation to participate in the event. For us, it is a very interesting opportunity to present the first results of our project. So I'm trying to share the presentation. Hope you can see it. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So CPRI's project is, as anticipated, the project financed by Central Europe program, which started on the 1st of June 2024, and it lasted 30 months. So we are almost at the end of the project. It involves 10 partners from 7 Central European countries, that is Italy, Croatia, Hungary, Austria, Slovenia, Poland, and Germany. It is structured in three work packages dealing with the governance part and the public and private institutions. The project has the objective of supporting the transition to circular economy in Central Europe, leveraging on circular green public procurement. The goal is to improve the ability of companies to introduce circularity and at the same time to improve their competitiveness in answering in public sector procurement calls. At the same time, we work also on the public sector capacity to publish tenders containing elements of circularity. My colleague Serena will present our work on the upgraded criteria to be used in the green public procurement. At the moment, there are no common standards in green public procurement, but we have to remember that GPP is a very important pillar of the circular economy strategy, and it will be included in a very comprehensive way in the next circular economy plan which is in preparation by the European Commission. So it is very important to work in this field, both because green public procurement represents a very important share of market for companies, and at the same time because the strategies built up by the European Commission will be focused on this pillar more and more. So the idea of our project is to standardize circular procurement approaches. We made a very, very comprehensive analysis of the situation at the moment in the 7 countries which are involved in our project, and to develop a joint strategy in order to be able to deal the green public procurement on a shared level. So I want to share for you a short video in order to give some information on the project. I hope you will see it, okay? So now now you can see the presentation again. Okay.
Sarah, we still hear the video.
Yeah. I try to. No, ce l'ho perso. I come back in the presentations. Hope you can see it again. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I give some short information on the project architecture. As I explained before, the project deals both with the public buyers and enterprises in 4 economic sectors, which are agri-food, manufacturing, construction, tourism-related services and goods. The journey of CPRI's activities is built on, of course, on a very specific structure, which is the development of a transnational initial assessment, which was being made during the first month of the project. And in this assessment, we made some surveys and also some analysis, which gave us some more detailed information on the situation of green public procurement in all the countries involved in the project. Then the transnational initial assessment was made by together by all the partners, of course, but with the technical support of the Sant'Anna University, which is a partner outside the area of the program, but a very important partner for us from the technical point of view. Then it was developed a transnational circular green public procurement strategy, which was built on 3 main objectives, which are facilitating growth and adoption of green public procurement practices, promote the enhancement of skills and competencies, and contribute to the development of a circular and green public procurement criteria shared across Central Europe countries. We saw during the initial assessment that public procurement and companies need a very strong competence to deal with this kind of procurement. So we developed some action plan, 2 action plans precisely, devoted to public authorities and to enterprises. The action plan is built on 2 main pillars, which are a capacity building activity, which is now almost finalized in all the countries involved in the project, but it will be available to all those who will be interested in finding the information, and on a pilot action, which of course is different from public authorities and enterprises. In the case of public authorities, there will be the need of upgrading their calls with including some upgraded circular criteria, which will be better explained by my colleague Serena. In the case of enterprises, it will consist in assessing and building some business model able to help the company to better answer to this kind of call. goals. Of course, we think that it is very important to include, to involve both public authorities and enterprises in some peer-to-peer exchange and demand and supply symposia, because the exchange of experiences, and in these events we will have some inspiration from by the city of Lund, for example, is very, very important for having ideas, for improving the ability of our stakeholders to build more and more circular policies in our territories. From the other side, demand supply symposia represent quite a challenging opportunity for us, but it is very important to put together both public authorities and enterprises in order to exchange their views.
You're muted, Sarah.
I don't know what happened, but I was muted. I don't know why, but anyway, I hope you see again the slide. So I think that the demand and supply symposia represent an opportunity to put together both companies and public authorities, talking about the challenges they face every day regarding, of course, green public procurement. And we saw from the initial assessment that sometimes public authorities do not have a clear idea of what the market offers regarding, for example, green products and other furnitures and other services, for example. And at the same time, companies have, in our region in particular, quite a low experience with green public procurement, because we have in our region very small companies which do not have a very strong administrative skill to participate in this kind of calls. So the idea now, we are in the phase of organizing the peer-to-peer exchange and demand and supply symposia, and we are building the pilot actions for public authorities and enterprises. The transnational cooperation is focused on the shared approach, as was explaining before, training session, exchange of experiences, webinars, and this with the focus of enhancing awareness, knowledge, and understanding. Of course, we have to deal with country-specific needs, because the situation is very different from one country to the other. And for this reason, we try to build a common framework, but also to have the flexibility to adapt it to the specific needs of the territories. We are now in the phase of finalizing an advanced set of circular criteria, which in a voluntary basis can be used and tested in real case tenders. So for us, it would be great to have some tenders, even from the participant of this webinar, why not, in order to test our circular criteria. Circular criteria are both based on exchange among the countries, and at the same time in upgrading already existing criteria or finding new criteria. At the same time, one of the most important goal of our project is a shared approach to improve the circularity of enterprises and their capability to better respond to public tenders. These are the expected results, that is the improvement in circular economy policies and practices related to public procurement. We have a strong connection with our ministry and also the National Agency for Sustainable Development, which are associated partner of the project and are involved in all our activities and always informed about the updates of the project. So for us, this is a very important result and important connection with the national policies. The spread of a new vision of green public procurement levels. We would like to underline that not only it accelerates the transition to the circular economy, but also it represents a very important opportunity for our companies. And this is the approach we would like to underline in all the occasion we have. Strengthen the cooperation between public and private sector, as I was explaining before, and the reduction of the barriers that hinder the matching between the demand of circular services, goods, and their supply. At the same time, as I was explaining before, the capacity building activities represents a very important opportunity to increase the capacity of public procurers to have more circular public tenders. Of course, to enhance the ability of also the sectoral stakeholders to respond to tenders. So I leave the floor to Serena to better explain the upgraded criteria we developed during the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Sara, for presenting this overview of the project. If you have any question for Sara, please, you can write it in the chat. So now we move to Serena, that will present the common circular criteria, introducing the circular criteria sets of CPRINs. So yeah, the floor is yours. Yeah.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm going to share my screen. Do you see?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, I'm going to introduce the upgraded criteria that we are developing and finalizing, but just before that, let me just highlight the fact that these pertain to the practical activities of the public sector that we are carrying out in the project. And so it pertains to the pilot action with the public authorities we work with. And these practical activities involve actually 3 steps. The first one was the analysis of the current level of circularity in the existing GPP criteria. Then from this situation, from this, we have developed the upgraded criteria. And as a last step, we will test these upgraded criteria in real case public tenders, as Sara also mentioned. So I'm going to now delve a little bit more into each of the steps. So the first step, as I said, was the analysis of circular principle existing that there are in existing criteria. Basically, we have taken the European GPP criteria for selected categories of products and services falling within the 4 key sector of the project. And we also took the national GPP criteria for the equivalent categories of products and services. And basically, we have assessed each criteria against 19 circular economy principles that you can see on the right of the screen, and which are basically defined based on the international standard, the ISO 904, which defines the key topics, principles, and guidelines of circular economy. Principles were also defined based on the European Circular Economy Action Plan and on the European GPP framework. The scope of the analysis was to understand which principles are most frequently integrated, which remain more underrepresented, and what are the gaps across sectors and also across countries. So these are the main finding of the analysis. The analysis has been already published. You can find the document on the project website, and so you can have a deeper look into it. But mainly the main finding were that the construction sector is the most mature sector in terms of circularity, and this is because it integrates and demands LCA studies, recycled materials, energy efficiency, and criteria of durability. And across sectors and across countries, the most frequent principles were the action to regenerate the ecosystem, the design for circularity, and the certification schemes and EU Ecolabel certification. And also process optimization was one of the principles most found. So overall, while the least represented principles were the remanufacturing, the sharing models, the reverse logistic, and also there were limited performance-based procurement. So basically, the main challenges identified were that there were different levels of circularity among countries. Also, national GPP systems are quite fragmented. There are limited use of measurable circular indicators, and the circular principle mostly remain indirect or implicit. And this is because there is what we have found is that overall across nations, across the countries participating in the project, is that there is a strong focus on environmental aspect, but there is a weaker focus on circularity in itself. And so from this situation, we have tried to develop a method to have common upgraded criteria. And upgraded criteria for us are like indication to progressively integrate circular principle within each national GPP legislation, depending on the national baseline, so depending on what is the status at national level, and also based on what exists in other countries. So basically, criteria are upgraded compared to the regulation that is in force in each country. And this legislation, the national legislation, can be inspired and can be upgraded by what already exists in other countries. And this also reflects the transnational and cross-border cooperation of the project. So basically, we have made this, I would say, a giant table, overall table, putting together the criteria of all countries, or the analyzed criteria of all countries. And each country has 3 options to apply upgraded criteria. Basically, each country can intensify quantitative thresholds that are already in force in that nation, or they can take inspiration or borrow criteria from other countries that does not exist in the national one, or as a third option, there can be completely new criteria that can be upgraded in the national legislation. So basically, as I said, there is this overall table with criteria from all countries, and the national criteria were grouped into common thematic clusters and similar contexts. And the most important thing is that we assigned a grade of circularity from 5, the highest level of circularity, to 1. So a grade from 5 to 1. And this grade was assessed according to the contribution of each criteria to the closing material loops and to the air strategy hierarchy. So basically, this is based on the definition of circular economy from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And the scale, 5 to 1, measures the extent to which a criterion acts directly, indirectly, or not at all on the material cycles. And basically, this is based on the fact that circularity and environmental sustainability do not always coincide. They are not always the same. So a criteria may be environmentally good. So when a criteria demands energy efficiency, air quality, biodiversity, but it cannot, but without being circular necessarily. So this is the method that we have built up. We are right now finalizing this method, and we are drafting the official document presenting the method, the methodology, and also this big table with all the criteria. And it will be soon ready and available again on the project website. So this is to give you an overview of the scoring of circularity. So from 5 to 1, where 5 is a criteria that gives a direct circular priority, where 1 is it's a criteria that fall a little bit outside of the circular economy scope. And so after that, we are going, as Sarah also mentioned, we are going to test these upgraded criteria in real case public tenders. Basically, each partner will have to find and identify an upcoming public tenders that is going to be published and include a set of criteria, of upgraded criteria into this public tender and the tender documentation. Clearly, these criteria should be applied as awarding criteria, so they are as voluntary criteria. They should not be mandatory, clearly because of the delicate procurement issues in each national legislation. And so the upgraded criteria can be included as they are, or they can be adapted, a little bit adapted for each necessity of the tender. Clearly, with this work, we are going also to provide a training and support for the procurement for the procurers of the contracting authorities that is going to include these upgraded criteria. And after that, clearly this tool of upgraded criteria wants to be a practical procurement tools, giving measurable circular outcomes and scalable good practices. So as I said, the document presenting, the official document presenting these upgraded criteria is still on work, is still in progress, but it will be soon ready, and we will share on the project website and also on the project social media. And this is it from my side. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Serena, for presenting this work on upgraded circular criteria. It was interesting to see the key findings and also the most commonly used criteria and where the important gaps remain and where development is still needed. So now we move to Emoke Takacs that will present the driving circularity via public-private joint effort.
Thank you very much, Nuria, Sarah, Serena. Very nice presentations. Welcome, everybody. I'm Emoke Takacs, and I'm lucky enough to have Tona Pkauer next to me. And we worked on an article recently, which was just approved. We worked together with, why doesn't it work? Oh yeah, we worked together with Eduardo Quattromini from Sant'Anna School. You already heard his name. It's also a partner within the CPRINS project partnership. So this research, which we'd like to guide you through, came to results based on the experiences of these CPRINS projects, such as the initial assessment, as you heard from Sarah, and also touches the criteria that Serena presented. And the key takeaways that we promise to share with you, number one, that we need a paradigm shift from extraction to regeneration. So moving beyond linear extractionist models towards a regenerative framework that restores ecosystems and fosters economic resilience. What do we mean by that? So just some examples. Once the research paper will be published, we will share it with you, but some examples about these features. We basically want to move from extracting resources and labors to restore our ecosystems. You heard how CGPP can improve or move towards that. We'd like to change from short-term thinking to intergenerational and adaptive mindsets, from linear economy to circular and self-healing one, and from an individual and organizational focused governance towards a organizational biosphere focus. And measuring instead of financial profit or GDP, more towards a system health and well-being. And how we want to do it, you've seen before this individual organizational shift towards a societal planetary perspective. We separated the different perspectives and needs from the individual perspective, the collective one, and what the society and our planet needs. And in that sense, we'd like to transit from me-we approach, so from the individual and collective needs towards the perspective and needs of the society and the earth. Maybe Tone, you can explain a bit more here.
Yes, when you look at this picture on the right side, you see that there are a number of perspectives that can be used to understand the development that we are proposing. And the experiences were the last couple of decades, maybe starting in the 80s of last century, to focus on personal, social, and mainly also economic perspectives to deal with things. And what we see happening nowadays is that there is a growing awareness of the fact that we not only should focus on these personal or individual aspects, but that it's absolutely necessary to make that what we call paradigm shift, to take into consideration the life activities, the physical surroundings, and the climate change that are linked to the development that we are in. And in that sense, it is necessary to make that change. We look at it from the perspective of governance, and then you may say that the traditional way of thinking was mainly on finding the cheapest solution that generate as much as is possible an individual outcome. for people who are interested in their well-being, in their own well-being. And what we suggest is the traditional focus of focusing on an individual perspective should switch to new partnerships that facilitate the development of a better world in general. Organizations and governments should work together in that sense to reach that all perspective, as we call it. It is necessary to work together, to have a joint effort in that field, because governments alone are unable to initiate that development. Private organizations are not able to do it in that sense. So we really need to have a joint effort in public and private partnerships in a new form to deal with this issue.
Yeah, so you see here the public procurement as it's been done in previously, just searching the cheapest, best solution, spending the public money. And with this new partnership that CPRIS initiates with all the capacity building and peer-to-peer activities and testing the criteria, we're searching for this new partnership and new solutions, because we believe that the EU green focus is also something that can be done together, and we are not able to do it by ourselves. So what happens? We have to change and go beyond the price. So it's not only about judging the offers by its price, but go for the total economic value. What is that, Tom?
Yeah, total economic value is something that is quite often used in this respect, and it is an approach where the focus is mainly on monetizing the effects, the values that we are facing. But when you look at it from another perspective, it is not only the economic aspect. You should choose a way broader view on values as they are. And we can illustrate it with a really simple example. On the moment that you plant an apple tree in your garden, you can say, okay, that's nice, because the direct use value is that after a while, I can easily eat a delicious apple because I made it myself and it is really nice. But that's not the only effect that we are striving for. You should also look at the indirect use values, because the apple tree is not only producing apples, but it's also producing oxygen. And oxygen helps the people around us. So there is an indirect use value, the people around us who also take advantage of this little apple tree. And there is another effect that is maybe we can see it as a non-use value. It's not influenced by the apple tree itself, but the apple tree makes that it is no longer necessary to import stuff from abroad or to do other things we might not use, pineapples or something alike. So there is a complete change into the direction of different view on the reality that we are facing, and that is the importance that we should take it all into consideration, and we cannot only make it we translate it into economic value that we are striving for.
Yeah, so that's what you heard from Selena about the criteria. We'd like to reach more than just judging by prices. And with this mindset, through the capacity buildings and peer-to-peer events, we try to reach life cycle thinking, so take in consideration more things than just the price, analyze the impacts, and go for a long-term vision. This way, the CPRIS project tries to set or initiate circular business models with service logic and integrate all the advantages that we are striving for. So if we compare linear versus circular green public procurement, then we see that it's basically incorporation of systemic material loops and not only green purchasing. Maybe you can tell very shortly because we are running out of time.
Yeah, what you see happening is that the traditional extractionist approach is that we take something, we make something of it, we use it, and we throw it away. So the movement is from resource to waste. And what you see happening is that when people think in terms of making it circular, that the waste should be used as a resource in another extractionist approach. But that's one aspect, and some of the criteria direct in that direction. But we should be aware of the fact that on the moment that you make it really circular, there are a number of other things that should be taken into consideration. It has to do with designing things more on durability and repairability, sourcing, where do you get your non-virgin materials from, etc., etc. So it is not only chaining the extractionist views in a circle, but it is also redesigning the circle as a whole. And that is what this circular green public procurement should face. And that's the issue that also comes forward from the criteria that Serena mentioned, to make it way easier to understand this paradigm shift, as we call it, that is, in our view, absolutely necessary.
So circular economy in that sense regards the systemic material loops and drives the partnership between public and private. It initiates innovative solutions to deal with our issues today. And our research was based on the initial assessment that the Santa Ana School did. You can find it on the project website. It highlighted many of the gaps between demand and supply. We here just raised awareness on a few, but it's very nice to read the whole document found on the website and linked on our presentation. But it also offers solutions for overcoming the barriers. What do we see here? How can we overcome?
Yeah, what you can see here is that in practice, in current practice, there is still a main focus on budget, finding this cheapest solution, and etc. So the economic point of view. And what we think is necessary is, once again, that paradigm shift that takes into consideration life cycle costing, service approaches, as we mentioned in the previous slide. And that is what we are searching for. And the criteria guide us in that direction to be aware of that a different way of thinking is necessary. And it's not only just adapting a bit to make it circular and chaining the linear approaches that we use.
So the same thing happened as with Sarah. Somehow we unmuted ourselves. Basically, that's what we wanted to highlight, and we'd build these future bridges with capacity building and peer-to-peer activities. These are joint efforts of public and private organizations, the procurers and the service and product providers. We standardize templates, the award criteria for the 4 sectors Sarah mentioned earlier, and we are on the way to test them in those innovation pilots. So we'd like to thank you very much for your attention, and once you will have questions, we are happy to answer them.
Thank you for this nice shared presentation and to highlight the need for this paradigm shift. So moving towards a regenerative framework that looks beyond price and considers broader value creation. So now we will move to the presentation of Omar Salha that will present the financing the loop, practical incentives for green public procurement. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. I am sharing my screen now. Hopefully you will see it. So
Yes.
my name is Omar Salha from the South Transdanubian Innovation Agency, Hungary. And I would like to share with you, building on the presentations before, some practical incentives for green public procurement. And so I would like to share some things we did with public authorities and the things we are doing with public authorities and why we are doing it in this project. So I would like to share with, start with a paradox, if I'm able to do it. Sorry for that, but somehow it's not working. Can you see my presentation?
We can see it, but it's not moving.
Yes,
Yes,
that is my.
You
that
should
is my
click on the
problem.
presentation and then it
Yeah.
will work.
Yeah,
It's not.
Yes,
first
that's
click
what
on.
I'm trying to do, but
Yeah, we had
somehow.
problems as well. Yeah.
Somehow it's not working. Okay, I will start sharing it again. Sorry for that. Can you see it now? Okay. I'm sorry for this technical issue.
Nuria, maybe your colleague can share.
We don't have the
Yes,
presentation. Maybe you can share the PowerPoint without the presentation mode. I think it's...
Yes, I will try to do that. But let me try to do it again. So do you see my presentation now? Do you see it now?
Yes.
Hopefully. Okay. Maybe I will try to do it again. No, it's not moving somehow. I'm sorry, I have no idea why it is happening. So just to okay, I will do it with the presentation mode if it's okay for you. And sorry for that.
No
I don't
problem.
know why it's not working.
No problem. It happens.
Okay. So now you should be able to see my presentation.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we want. Okay, so I would like to start with a cost paradox, if it's visible on the screen. So in our initial assessment that we were talking about before, we surveyed almost 300 and 200, a little bit more than 200 public authorities in all the 7 partner countries. And we asked both sides a very simple question. we wanted to know what stops them from doing circular procurement. So as we heard it before, for enterprises, the number one answer was very straightforward, very clear. Too much emphasis on the price in the tenders. So 72% said that, according to the initial assessment. For public authorities, it was very, very similar. Budget constraints, as we heard in the presentation before, was a very high percentage of the answers, and the sense that green products just cost more. They are very expensive. 74% answered this. So the story seems very, very clear that circularity is too expensive. But then we asked what motivates these actors to be more green, to use circular economy, and top answer from the enterprises was, interestingly, almost the same: economic benefits. For public authorities, also the same. The motivation is cost saving and financial incentives. Very high percentage said that. So both sides say it's too expensive, and both sides say they want to do it because it saves money. And this is seems to be a huge contradiction. But we found out that it can be interpreted. It tells us some things from the two sides, that that we are measuring the wrong thing. We look at the purchase price only, and we don't look at lifetime cost. And I want to talk about that. So now, when we compared what companies actually do with what public authorities actually ask for in the procurements, we found something interesting. 36% of the enterprises have already implemented some circular economy practices to some degree, to some level, but only 22% of public authorities include these circular criteria in their tenders. The circular criteria Selena was talking about. And 30% of public authorities have not even talked about it, not even considered using circular criteria. So that's like the double of the figure on the enterprise side. So the supply is there, is existing, and companies are already doing some circular things. And the bottleneck is on the public side sector. So the encouraging part is that the data shows that, and this is statistically very significant, that the companies who participate in public procurement, they perform better in circularity. So the effect was very clear. With the probability is almost like zero. That it's a chance. Is a very clear picture that those companies who participate in green public procurement, they have much better circularity scores. So in simple terms, the public procurement is just not just buying circular products, it actually facilitates circular economy and makes companies more circular. So that's why we choose this approach, and that's maybe the most powerful incentives that a public authority or a government can have. And it doesn't need money or anything, single euro to spend. So if the public procurement is so powerful, why is not happening? So again, I think the answer is in the data we collected. And after the cost perception, the next set of barriers is about people and skills. So in the public authority side, 73% says that the lack of training and on environmental issues is a huge issue. 72% say that they don't have enough staff to do that, and 71% say they simply don't have the expertise. Is there, the probability is there, but the knowledge is missing. So that's how CPRINCE comes in, and we are doing, as we heard, we are implementing the transnational action plan for the public authorities right now. In at least it means 7 events per country, and 2 of those events are advocacy meetings with decision makers, because we need to build political willingness, political backing, because none of this is working without that. And the other 5 are practical training sessions for the people who actually participate in tenders, who write tenders across 7 countries. And so it means almost 50 events by the end of the year. So each country adapts to their own situation in the participating countries. In Poland, the goal is, and as I will quote it, dispelling the myth that green public procurement equals more expensive procurement. So in Austria, they are building on the criteria, which is a green public procurement criteria, and already it covers 16 product groups. In Slovenia, they have a new green public procurement, or GPP, decree that takes effect in last year, has taken effect in last year. And our trainings are preparing procurers for that. And Croatia is doing something very special, particular, because they are developing criteria, especially for the tourism sector, because it's a very strong part of their economy there. And in Hungary, we run all sessions online and we record it, so we try to reach as many people as possible. So we think the cheapest incentive, the best incentive, is not money, it's competence. And the second part is about the rules, the tender criteria themselves, as Serena has mentioned and showed in detail, so I won't repeat that. But what I will tell you now is how those criteria works as incentives. And there are 3 pathways, and none of these needs any cost from the public authorities side to implement. So one is to intensify what already exists. Very simple. If your system or the local law asks for 10%, let's say 10% recycled content, you can make it 20, and you don't need any law for that. You can intensify this threshold. 2, and it's very important, I think, is to borrow from other countries that are a little bit ahead, or they have developed some criteria. We can borrow from them and see how it's working. So the Italy system covers 21 product groups, the CAM system, and Austria's NABE, it covers 16 product groups. So what works in Austria or in Italy can work in Hungary as well. So we can borrow this criteria and implement it directly from the public authorities in any other countries. And the third pathway is to add something that nobody has yet. We found that when we looked at EU GPP documents, that remanufacturing appears in none of them, and sharing models doesn't appear in them. Reverse logistics, just very few of them. So there is a lot of space to fill and to find new criteria. And we're just not just talking about this. Every partner country are testing these upgraded, borrowed, intensified, or new criteria in a real tender. So not in a workshop, not in an exercise, but a real and live procurement tender, real procurement procedure, so we can see how it works. So 7 countries and 7 real tenders. And as we heard before, none of this works until the buyers and the suppliers actually talk to each other. So that's why we run demand supply events in every partner country to connect the sides and to show them how they should evaluate green criteria and how they can use it for their benefits. So let me give you 2 specific examples from our Hungarian audits, 2 enterprises, and I can show why it matters. So we made an audit with our audit tool, with the CE-Prince audit tool. We did an audit for a dairy company. They have 200 employees. They deliver trucks, deliver the products, and they don't come back empty. They return loaded with the packing materials. And they sell, they weigh the byproducts of the production to a neighboring biogas plant. And all their palm oil is RSPO certified. So these are very, very solid textbook circular practices. And the circularity score they received is 33 out of 100. So why it's so low if they're doing these things very firmly? Because none of this was written down, and none of this was in a system that they can use. So no strategic document, no targets, no dedicated budget. They were doing it, just didn't call it circular economy. They were just doing it because they thought it's good. So another case, an electronics manufacturer, 209 employees they have. The end of the life score was 91.7 out of 100. So almost 100% waste recovery is unbelievably good, but their procurement score was 0. So they are very good in managing waste, but they never think about what they buy. So in one side, they have very good circular economy practices, in other side, nothing. So we started to call this, we can call this invisible circularity. Companies do circular things, circular economy practices, but they don't recognize them as circular economy practices. It means they can't put them into a tender. So if we don't ask about circularity in tenders, they will never formalize it. And this is the loop we need to close. With our assessment tool, we can find, which is free, and you can find it on the website. And it takes a couple of hours to audit a company, to answer some questions. And this is a good way to start, because then any company can see how they can formalize circular practices, and so they can measure it, managing it, and use it in a helpful way. So the auditing itself doesn't transform the company, of course, but it does something very important. It makes the people at the company see what they are already doing right. So once they see it, they can build on it. And this is the starting point. The audit is the starting point. One more piece, and I think it's also very important. Everything I was talking about, that the training, the criteria, the pilot, is happening while the regulatory landscape is shifting very fast. So for years, green public procurement criteria in the EU was voluntary. It has been voluntary, and that's changing. These rules, they are all introducing the new rules, all introducing some mandatory environmental requirements for public contracts. And by the end of the decade, we will see implementing acts that make these GPP criteria compulsory. So the question is not if we will move forward circular procurement, it's about how fast a public authority can get there, and how fast they can get ready, so they can apply these mandatory regulations. So in the CRPRINCE project, we are building that readiness for public authorities with the criteria, with the tools, with the training, and the real pilot tenders experiences in all the 7 countries. And that's not a huge investment from the public authorities side, but when the rules will be mandatory, that will be a very expensive option if they are not ready to implement it. So I would like to finish with 3 takeaways. One, the cheapest incentive is competence. So you must train your procurement officers, and there is a clear data that is not the budget or the money that holds people back. It's knowing how to do it. Second, the strongest incentive is a rule change. If you put circular criteria into the tenders, not just in the technical specifications, the award criteria, you don't need extra funding for that. The public authorities just need a decision to do it. And 3, I think that the most expensive option for a public authority is doing nothing and not preparing for the rule change. And the supply side seems more ready than we think, and the tools are there, and the regulation is coming. So what's missing is the demand signal from the public authorities, the public procurement, and we are working on this. And all of our tools are available online, free at no cost. for any public authority that wants to get started with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
That's what I wanted to share with you.
Thank you, Mar, for your presentation. Now we will move to Elin. We need to be a bit careful with the time. So within the framework of the project, 5 good practices have been identified across 4 sectors covered by CPRINS, from Barcelona on sustainable events, Haarlem on catering, so Malmo on textiles and furniture, and from the city of Lund on construction. So these cases were selected to inspire partners during the peer-to-peer activities. And the city of Lund case was also identified as a good practice within the Circular Minds project funded by Interreg Europe. This means that is a good example of knowledge sharing between EU-funded projects. So, Elin, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And Nuria, I really need to leave at 11:30, but if there are any questions for me, maybe I can answer them in the chat later on this afternoon.
Yeah, no problem. We might send, if there are questions, we might send them after the webinar. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yeah, so nice to see everybody. Nice to be invited here. My name is Elin Dalaryd, and I work for the city of Lund, which is a municipality in the south of Sweden, and I work as an environmental strategist. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about our reuse inventory, the very first one that we made 6 years ago, actually now, so it's been a while. This case was, we had an old school building within the municipality, and it was about to be demolished to give place to a new school. And there was a bit of public opposition towards this, towards demolishing this old school. And the question of reuse and climate neutral building had recently started to awaken in our city, and myself and a couple of colleagues, we decided that we wanted to try to make a first reuse inventory in this school before the demolishment. And we did this to try to learn more about the reuse process and circularity, and how we could try to implement it more in the city. You can see the link here. You can read more about this later on. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, when we got this idea, it was only like 2 months before the demolition, so there was not very much time. But we decided to go out on site anyway, and we gathered quite a large group for this because we wanted to share this experience and knowledge as broadly as possible. So we took with us real estate managers within the municipality, the people from the contractor that was going to build a new school, experts on cultural value of buildings, outdoor environmental specialists, researchers from the university, just a large group of people. And we went out there with our notepads and the checklist, and we went through the whole school and tried to identify items and materials that could be worth trying to save and reuse. And after that, we started the process to try to see what kind of material could be used where or go where. And we had this order of prioritization, where we in first hand wanted to save the material to use in the new school that was about to be built, so we could use it in the same spot. And secondly, we tried to find places within the other schools or other buildings within the municipality. And thirdly, we tried to sell it through an auction firm. And finally, if there were remaining things, we arranged a digital flea market for the public. And this was during the pandemic, so we wouldn't want to gather everyone. So that's why we made it digitally, and people could come and pick it up in a safe way, one by one. And the contract for the new school that was already set, and we hadn't included any criteria on reuse in this contract, but we had like a special kind of contract that was a bit open and included a lot of dialogue. So therefore we could have this kind of dialogue with the contractor and make them use things that we found during the inventory. And they were also very positive to this. And some evidence of success. Well, this experience led to some changes in our internal procedures. We started to think more about reuse and incorporate it in our tenders and so on. And we could also see some economic gains from this. We saved approximately 30,000 to 40,000 euros. And we couldn't calculate the CO2 savings by then because we didn't have a proper tool, but we could measure the weight of the bricks that could be reused for filling out the holes before they built the new school. They could crush it and use it as filling material. Otherwise, what things that we took out were metal fences, shelves, limestone window sills, sports hall equipment, an entire ventilation system, which was the most contributing part to the economic savings, and also these bricks. Yes, next slide. Well, some lessons learned. This was very much hands-on, down to earth, not very much preparation. And we learned that a digital tool is very much needed. It was really hard to keep track on all the materials and what was going to go where and to whom. So something digital absolutely is necessary. Also storage, which we didn't have. So for this ventilation system, we had to rent some space before it could be moved to a new location. As I said, we started this like 2 months before the demolition, and that was way too short time. You should need at least 6 months in advance to be able to take out things and find where you're gonna do what you're gonna do with it and so on. And we also had a very, very short window to take things out. We had practically 1 weekend between the closing of the school until the demolishers came. So it was a very hasty process. And you also need to establish good systems to ensure a smooth transition of materials. So it was a bit confused now of where things were going to go and who was responsible and so on. So also you need one responsible person with the right expertise to handle this, and someone who knows what is worth saving, what could be used where, and so on. And also, I think we learned that it was a good move to involve all these stakeholders in this procedure, because we got this engagement within the staff group. Also, we arranged seminars on reuse, and we really got the question much more on the agenda through this, even though, of course, there were some persons that were negative and thought that this was a complete waste of time. But overall, I think we managed to draw in most of them into this. Yes, next slide. So it's been 6 years since we did this experiment, and where are we now? Pretty much in the same time frame as we did this. Our politicians also initiated that we should develop a plan for climate neutral building and construction. So we have that plan now since a couple of years. And that is also really focused on reuse and so on. We have new tender criteria, which I'm going to tell you about very soon. We also have a new routine for reuse inventories so that we can do this in a more structured way and not so ad hoc as we did this first time. We have a digital tool. In fact, we have a completely new organization within the municipality, a reuse central for both furniture and building material, and they have this digital tool. They have a physical storage area, and they are now starting to develop the reuse processes more thoroughly. Yes, next slide. Yes, and so some impacts that this has had on circular procurement. We have included a waste reduction criterion in our tenders now when we procure new buildings. So they each building can only give can only cause a certain amount of waste per square meter. We also have a flexibility criterion that says that the buildings shall be easy to change. The use of the function of the building shall be easy to change. For example, from a home for elderly people to a preschool. And there is also a minimum percentage of reused material criterion nowadays, and also a maximum climate impact criterion, which is calculated before the procurement. And to be able to reach that quite strict level of climate impact, you practically need to incorporate some reused material in your building. But you also need to use like concrete with a better climate value and so on. Yeah, I think that was it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Celine, for your presentation. So now we will move to the discussion part. I see that there are 2 questions in the chat. I'm gonna read the first one from Dietmar, reaching procurement officers. Sorry, I wanted to start for the first one. How can we increase information on recycling products, mostly on meetings and conferences? The producers of recycling inform each other about the green products. How can we inform, qualify, educate the responsible people in the administration for green procurement? These people often have no idea and they do not attend meetings of the offers. How can we use incentives of energy climate advantages? Recycling products are mostly more expensive than virgin products and materials. A recommendation, you should publish lighthouse projects and good examples of pilot activities from all the countries. I don't know who wants to take this question. I was thinking maybe more like you wanna go ahead?
If you want to say something, and then Omar can integrate. I can answer only, I know better, of course, the situation of Italy. And I can say that the minimum environmental criteria has provided a strong incentive to the use of green products. So the importance of national policies is very, very important in order to have this attention by the public procurements. In Italy, unfortunately, we can say that the approach of public procurements is still one of merely complying with the regulatory requirements, rather than recognizing that the minimum environmental criteria serve everyone's interested by protecting nature, natural resources, and at the same time rewardly, genuinely green companies. For this reason, we organized during the project many capacity building sessions designed to provide a better understanding of what is included in the criteria, minimum environmental criteria, and also at the same time to raise awareness of their use. In my opinion, in Italy is very difficult to have the participation of public procurements to general meetings, offers meetings, and so on. And for this reason, we tried to organize symposia between public and private stakeholders in order to deal with some very precise and technical issues to discuss regarding the products and services which are coherent with the circular policies. In my opinion, as Omar explained better than me in the presentation, the capacity building is the core activity to raise awareness on circular procurement. So there are no other roads apart from, of course, the national requirements, which in the case of our country are quite focused on these aspects. The fact that the Green Public Procurement will be included in the European Commission Circular Economy Action Plan, to my opinion, will make this pillar stronger and stronger in order to emphasize the importance of being green and circular. So I don't know if I answered to the question, but it is a crucial point of our project.
Perfect, thank you,
Omar?
Sarah. Do you want to add, Omar,
Yes.
something?
Yes, I can say the same. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Dietmar, for the questions. I think you asked the questions just right before my presentation, and I really hope that my presentation was answering that. And I think your question itself is very reassuring for us, because I wrote the answer in the chat as well. So I can tell you in words as well that yes, reaching procurement officers, as Sarah has explained also, is exactly the point why we make these demand supply events to connect the buyers and the suppliers. And this is what we are doing in the project. And I just wrote some data from my presentation, so you can find it in the chat. And your question about training, yes, of course, is the main focus, what we are doing. So we are doing 50 practical sessions for the people who actually make the tenders. So it's not a workshop, it's not a conference, it's a training. It's, for example, as Poland put it, that they want to dispel the myth that GPP is expensive. So we are training, we are doing training, and we hope that it will have an effect. And the cost, yes, is true. In the beginning, it costs maybe more at the beginning, at upfront, but the lifetime cost is a different story. So, and the EU regulation is pushing in this direction as well. So, and yeah, the as you called it, lighthouse projects. Yes, we totally agree. We're doing this exactly this. We are documenting the pilot results from all the countries, and we are implementing this criteria, and we are experiencing or trying this criteria, and we are documenting it, and we will share the results, how it worked.
Thank you, Omar. Hope was an answer to the Dietmar question. There is another question in the chat from Marco, the life cycle costing methodology, so referring to the Article 68 of the Public Procurement Directive. do need European data in order to not risk barrier to competition. I'm not sure if the question is clear enough.
It is quite clear.
Yeah, okay.
It is quite clear, but I think that we are very far from this objective. I need to be clear on this aspect, because the single market is really exist, but there are really great differences in costs among different countries. So having European data for calculating life cycle costing, in my opinion, is quite difficult at the moment. What we can say that from the national point of view, in Italy, the ENEA agency, which is the agencies on sustainable development, which is an associated partner of CPRIS project, is now building a national LCA database, which serves as a tool to have very scientific data in order to have a life cycle assessment. But this from the scientific point of view, because if you know, life cycle assessment can be made on the basis of the four pillars of the analysis, but it could be made with very different qualitative and quantitative data. So there's no an homogeneous approach to this kind of analysis, which of course could represent a very difficult way to analyze, for example, a public procurement, because you have to be very fair in the approach when you are dealing with the public procurement. So in this case, ENEA is working on building this national database, but regarding the cost, in my opinion, and maybe is my opinion, we are very far from an approach based on European data, in my opinion. But I don't know if other stakeholders have different ideas, but it is, of course, a challenge. It is, of course, a good approach, but we are quite far from this.
Thank you, Sarah. Anyone wants to add on this? If not, this was the last question. I think we can move to the closure. So as we come to the end of this webinar, we have seen how the CPRINS project is helping to bridge the gap between buyers and suppliers through capacity building activities and the development of upgraded circular criteria across the project key sectors. So we have also seen the value of looking beyond price and considering long-term value and broader economic, environmental, and social benefits. This effort supports the transition towards a more regenerative economy, one that strengthens European prosperity, resilience, and competitiveness. This discussion is particularly timely as the European Commission is expected to publish a proposal for the Public Procurement Act and the Circular Economy Act in the coming months. And then without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Sara Piana, CPRINS Project Coordinator, for some final remarks before we close today's event. And thank you for staying with us a bit longer than expected. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity to spread the results of our project. I think that it is very important for us to make understand what's the importance of green public procurement for both for public procurers and for private. So we will keep you updated on the next events and next opportunities, and I hope you can reach our website in order to have more information on the project, events, and capacity buildings, which are of interest for each of you, I think, and for the next final event, which will be organized in the next month. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a
Thank you very much.
lovely EU Green Week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
You.